Hey guys, how are you? It's a little strange. I'm using my computer to read the chat just because I'm a little blind and using my phone as the camera. So today I wanted to, Mary wanted me to do some type of cookie. So I thought of making some forage cookies. Now, this is what they look like. They're completely dehydrated. So I'm using a few ingredients for this. We're going to be using bark. You can either harvest your own from a pesticide-free location and somewhere you have no traffic so they're not contaminated. But I get my bark from because of crabs. So you're just going to, today I'm just going to do a small portion just to show you guys. But you can fiddle with this recipe as much as you like. Hibiscus flowers. And I'm just going to be using a tablespoon of each of these ingredients. And only a quarter cup I'm going to be using of the coconut flour. You can get this at your local supermarket or Walmart. The crabs love coconut in general, so it's pretty great. Now, I also added, excuse me, I'm a little sick, so I might be a little hoarse. I'm also using some flour mix, different types of flowers like pea flowers, burning bush, oat flowers. It's just a mixture of different flowers that I actually keep in a big bin because I do have a lot of crabs. And I just grind it up with one of these little mallets, if that's what you call it. And this, I just put a whole bunch in here just because I'm going to add some to the flour mix, and I'm also going to use it to top it off at the end. We're also going to be using 1 tablespoon of oats. You can use any type of old-fashioned oats. I buy them big because my family eats it, and so do the crabs. Then I'm going to be using some Himalayan salt. This is safe for the crabs. So we're going to make them just a little bit salty. And I'm going to be using half a sheet of seaweed. These you can find in your Asian department, as long as it's no salt added. It's just, you look in the ingredients in the back and it's just a single ingredient says seaweed. They're just basically sushi rolls. And then, let's see, that's pretty much it. So let's start to make this. I'm going to grab a little bowl to put everything together. Does anybody have any questions so far? Most of all the ingredients are organic. I'm also going to be using organic coconut oil. This I had gotten from my BJ's. Old-fashioned oats are not organic. I try to get organic as much as possible, especially when it comes to, different types of fruits and vegetables and things like that. Honey, I really don't understand why they say organic, because bees do travel. So it really doesn't matter if you do regular or organic. Yes, crabs do love oats. Thank you, Kathy. I have strep throat actually. So we went the other day to the doctors, and because my throat was feeling a little dry, and they told me that I had strep. So lucky me. So I'm adding the quarter cup of oats to this. Then I'm going to just add maybe half a spoon. I'm just playing by ear. You can eyeball it. All you want to do is basically make some type of dough so that it can hold all together. Then I'm going to add the 1 tablespoon of oats and the hibiscus. We're going to end up blending all of this so that we can get a smaller, finer consistency. So the first few ingredients, Elizabeth, is just basically bark. You can harvest this from any woods, or you can purchase from our proof sellers. Because of crabs has bark, and so does a few of our other sellers. Then you're going to need some hibiscus flowers. This is I purchased this from Amazon. This is organic. This bag does go a really long way. You're going to use some type of leaf litter. You can use flowers if you like. It's just the whole point is so that we can make some type of give our crabs some type of leaf litter. We also, it's important for them to have this because they have this available to them at all times in the wild as well. And I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon of oats. You can use rolled oats, whatever you like. We're going to grind everything up together anyway. And then I'm using organic coconut oil. We're going to add about a tablespoon of coconut oil to this as well. And then we're going to add an egg. Let's take this out. So we're just going to use egg whites for this, just to hold as a binding agent. We're just going to separate the yolk. Don't throw it away, of course, and save it for another time for your crabs. And then we're going to add some Himalayan salt. The crabs do sometimes, of course, they ask for salty, so offering a nice healthy salt is good as well. And then I'm just going to add a drizzle of honey. And I'm going to add the coconut oil. You just eyeball it until everything comes together. And then we put everything together. Let's see how this comes out. And then we're going to put everything in the blender, right along with the bark. Now I'm just using for this recipe just a few pieces. This piece has some great likings on it. I got this from Because of Crabs. I love to just buy little pieces because I'll put them in their topper as a form of foraging for them. And then we're just going to put everything together. With my last recipe, I did have to add a little bit of filtered water to this. So let's see how this comes out first. And then, I'm sorry, I forgot the seaweed. So I'm just using about a 1/4 sheet of that sushi roll. And I'm going to be using these little dog silicone for the cookies. And it might get a little loud. Let's see. Plug in. might have to add some water. Now, I like to use, if you're going to be using tap water, you want to make sure that you add prime to this. We just want everything to come together. You don't want it too liquefied. Okay, I think this did it. Now it doesn't look appealing, of course, but we want to make just enough for it to bind. We're going to dehydrate it. You can either use cookie cutters or, like I said, the silicone molds. That's what I use, and I dehydrated them in my oven at 200. It took about 4 hours for them to actually completely dehydrate. You want to make sure that there's no moisture to them. After that, you can store them at room temperature. I've done several different kinds of cookies, and during the holidays, I did some gingerbread cookies, and those came out pretty nice. Let's see. Yes, Beth, they eat like kings and queens. They're so spoiled. I just finished telling someone that the other day in the group. Okay, so I did wash my hands several times, and we're going to use the best tool God gave us, which is our hands, to just put everything together. It's making you hungry. When I was baking this, because I wanted to have something already done so that you guys can see what they look like after they're done. And my daughter was like, Mom, they smell good. Can I taste them? I said, I don't think you want to taste this. She goes, but why? I said, well, there's a lot of forage items in here. So this is a nice dough. It's like pretty, it does look yucky, but it's pretty good, and it holds shape. That's what we want. Let's see. Yes, the gingerbread cookies. Let's see if I missed anything. Crab buffet for sure. These guys, I like to offer fresh foods to my crabs at least once a week. If I have the extra time, then maybe I'll add offer twice, but it depends on how busy my week is. I like to prep things monthly for them, just because I have 8 tanks. I try to make things not as hard for me. So I'm taking my silicone molds, and then I'm just going to stuff them as much as possible. Now remember, we added all these ingredients. Now my flours, or if you're going to just use oat leaves or whatever leaves you want, you're going to grind them up very fine. Because at the end, we're going to add honey to the top, and then put the cookies over the flour so that they can stick. Let me start from the top to see if I missed anything. Okay. You love my YouTube channel. Thank you. I do like to, post little videos to be, to help others. There's a lot that goes into crab keeping, and I like to help people make things simple. Bar cookies, I love it. It was a good idea. I put one in the tanks the other day, and they were gone the next morning. I had to look throughout the tank to see if it was dragged off or something. What kind of bark? It depends on, Colleen, what kind of bark I'm using. It all depends on what Because of Crabs puts in her shop, but it's pretty much oat bark. She does forage from a forest by her home, so it all depends on what she has on her shop. I let her surprise me. Colleen, what kind of bark can you use? You can use, just go onto our safe food database, or even the forage book, and just look to see what is safe. The crabs, as long as it's safe, the crabs love any bark. Raisin oat, natural peanut butter, organic honey, banana cookies. Nice. I bet they love that, Beth. I can, Alicia, I could definitely share the recipe. You guys are welcome to use it. The other cookie that I thought of doing was actually a calcium cookie. You know how a lot of members, I've noticed, when they first get their crabs, they do get a lot of those calcium blocks at the pet stores for the fish department. A lot of those, for example, that particular calcium block has ingredients, additives that are not safe for the crabs. So I said, let's just make our own little calcium blocks, and I'll share what I did there. And they're very dehydrated, and they were my jumbos. I actually gave one to my jumbo yesterday, and forget it. It was devoured in minutes. Let's see. So how many bark pieces did I use? So for this recipe in particular, I just used a quarter cup of oats. So it's a very small portion, and then everything else was pretty much a tablespoon of all those items. And the bark pieces, I used 2.5 small little pieces. They have to be pretty small. You don't want it to, about 2 pieces like this. It's hard to say in measurements how much was that, but about 2 pieces like this. This should be good enough because we're grinding it anyway, so it's going to be distributed. Yes, Beth. You want to make sure that you're harvesting all your leaf litter and forage items from a pesticide-free location, like I mentioned before, and no traffic. Because if you think about it, if it's a location where cars are coming through, everything is going to be contaminated. And we want to make sure that we're offering our crabs everything that is safe. And if in your yard, if it's in the back and you don't have, like I said, traffic, you can, Randy, you can harvest as long as you're not treating your yard or your neighbors. My crabs love eggs all the time. They don't get tired of it. Okay, I'm just going down the list, making sure that I answered all your questions. Now, when you are dehydrating your items in the oven, I do have a dehydrator, but I like to use, depending on the quantity or the size of the item, I would put it in my dehydrator. But if it's big, then I would add it to my oven. You want to make sure that you put a wooden spoon to hold the door open, so, just to release the any moisture inside of the oven. You don't want to bake it. You want to dehydrate it. You want to remove all the moisture from it so that you can be able to store it at room temperature for a long time. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I when I first started, I'm a little crazy about food. If you guys ever seen my my food stash, I'm obsessed with just to crab food, and south of the ocean I have big bins of all their foods. I like to give my crabs variety, so I don't think they have ever the same thing in a week. Okay, yes, it does. Let me see. Thank you, Beth. You're such a great supporter. Let's see. Hey, Jamie. Didn't see that you were here. The hideaway. I think that is actually from my shop. My crabs actually love that that hide more than any of the other ones. I guess because it has the different levels. So let's just finish building these. I'm talking too much. So it will be. It's going to be a little moist and crumbly, and that's okay. It's not going to hold like a cake dough or a regular cookie dough, because we're using coconut flour. Coconut flour is very grainy to begin with. So we just want an even top. If you're going to be using cookie cutters, you can do a flat cookie cutter, maybe something small so that you can squish everything together, just because it is going to fall apart at first. But once you start to dehydrate it, it will get hard and hold shape. So this portion might just fill 6 cookies. Let's see. So tell me, guys, how have you been enjoying CrabCon so far? What has been your favorite and why? Let's see. I think this is pretty much it. So what I did was I did this, then I did bake it halfway through. Originally, we don't have to do that. You can add the flowers to it right now before dehydrating. But what I did do was, you want to add the honey. I did mix honey and coconut oil together, just so that to have that little hole so it could bind nicely. So I'm going to take just a few drops of coconut oil. You don't want too much, just because then the flowers won't hold. So I'm just going to use maybe 5 drops. And then you can use as much honey as you want. This is just going to hold the flowers in place. And the oil just makes the honey a little smoother, just because it's so thick and sticky. And then we're just going to put it over the cookie. We don't need to worry about the mess. We can fix that later. The crabs don't mind. So I'm just putting honey on each of them. And then we're going to press the flowers or leaves, whatever it is that you're going to use as the top. I mean, they look pretty at the same time, but very healthy and beneficial for the crabs. And then we're going to take our flowers. So this is a real big mess. We're just going to take our flowers and we're going to press them into each as much as you can, just so that it could go into the cookie. So when you, after you dehydrate them, the flowers will not fall off. So now you can do this with anything. I love to experiment on recipes with the crabs, as long as, you know, I know what they like. My crabs are not picky. They're beyond that, especially the jumbos. Let's see. What is my store name? Is Land Hermit Crab Educational Center. Mining everything, yes. Mine's too. They're not picky at all. So these cookies, like I mentioned, you can feed these, Danielle, you can feed these every day if you want to, just because it's just a forage cookie. There's nothing in here that will harm them. It's just basically leaf litter. It's just a forage item. I just thought of, you know, just how you would put your forage items either in a dish or spread out on the substrate. However it is that you offer your leaf litter, this is just in a cookie form. It's just something fun for you, and it keeps everything in place. So you can just put one inside a dish in the tank maybe once a week if you want, if you're offering other leaf litter, which is important as well. Oh, Colleen, you just got crabs and you're a teacher. That's awesome. We do have a teacher program, if you haven't heard of it yet, is Claws in the Classroom, which is a great program we offer for the teachers to help you guys get set up, just to make things much easier on the teacher. So you could definitely check that out. Let's see. Michelle, the baking molds, you can, like I mentioned, you could use either the dog silicone sheets. They have a lot of fun shapes. You can find them on Amazon or even maybe in a baking goods store. If you don't have baking molds, you can just put them on a flat sheet and just bake it flat. And then maybe after it's completely dehydrated, you can even cut them off into little pieces, just like brittle, like you know, like just little pieces, and just offer it like that in a dish. That'll be fun as well. Yes, Mia, I am as well. She says, I'm always afraid of pesticide-free things, so I avoid foraging. Well, foraged items are very important for our hermit crabs. It helps them with their colors. It offers a lot of nutritional needs that they need and they have available to them in the wild naturally. So we want to make sure that we're offering as much as we can for them. It's very beneficial. You'll see happy crabs. Every time I add fresh leaf litter, my crabs actually get so excited. They get twisted. It's funny to see, just because they get super excited. They start twisting themselves out of their shell. It looks scary at first if you don't know what you're actually seeing, but it is amazing just to see how excited they get for certain foods. Thank you, Christine. Yes, I got a brand new dehydrator too for Christmas. My mom gave it to me. She goes, "You like cooking for your crabs, so here's this." That was pretty nice of her. Trisha, definitely a food hoarder. I love to get a whole bunch of food for them. It doesn't last too much. It doesn't last too long in my home anyway, because they don't ever last a year. You should definitely start foraging, Mia. I like to forage beginning of mid spring and the end of fall as well, just because there's different things during those times. Let's see. Oh, I'm honored, Colleen. This is the first session you join. I'm glad. Uh, yeah, Jocelyn, you can use a small pan. You can just play with it, whatever works for you. Oh, I have not said how many crabs I have, Kate. I actually have um, closer to 60. No longer taking in anymore. I can't. I have 8 tanks, and let's see, my biggest tank is 100-gallon with my captive bred babies, 2001 captive bred babies, and I do have a few other wild caught crabs in there, but they're all purple pinchers. And my other 7 tanks are exotic tanks. For some reason, I've been so blessed with uh, rescuing quite a few exotics in my area. Not too close, but I did have to travel to go get them. I know a lot of people tell me that I should do a cookbook. Maybe one day. It's a lot of research and a lot of work that goes into it. It'll be fun, and maybe I should do that. That'll be pretty cool. Yes, Valerie, the dollar store does have silicone molds, but you want to make sure that when you're getting things from the dollar store, you're um, making sure that you do your research, and whatever it is that you're getting. For example, wood pieces from the dollar store, I would not get, just because those things are pre-treated with chemicals. The craft store, yes, Alicia, Michael's, they do have a lot of molds, like for the lollipops and things like that, the chocolate cookies. Yeah. Jeannie's shop is the only shop that I actually get all my leaf litter from. I live in New Jersey, so I really don't have access to like moss and things like that. So those items that I cannot harvest myself, I just get from Jeannie. And south of the ocean, she has the best leaf litter. It's just a whole bunch of mixed leaf litter. The crabs love it. Now that you say, Beth, the cholla wood and the a lot of stores do have cholla wood. For example, Hobby Lobby. I would stay away from those just because they are bleached. If the cholla wood looks pretty white, and also the sand dollars there as well, and the starfish, I would not buy those there just because they are bleached and toxic to the crabs. Do I have a recommendation for a dehydrator? It doesn't, they all work just as well. It's not like you're going to be baking massive amounts of food for the crabs. So I would suggest just get something basic. You can go on Facebook Marketplace and find one secondhand. Works just as well. Or just stick to your oven. They work perfectly. Oh, 50 acres, Jocelyn. That's amazing. I wish I had that. I would be out there every day. Yes, when you're harvesting your foraged items, you want to make sure that you treat them before you place them inside your tank, so you can avoid any little pests that would, go into your tank. There's lots of bugs that you cannot even see with the eye, so you want to make sure that you're treating them properly. So if you're harvesting your items, you want to rinse them in primed water very well, several times, and then you're going to dehydrate them and freeze them at least 48 to 72 hours, just to make sure, just because there are bugs out there that would do well in the heat, and then there's bugs that will do well in the cold. So that's why we always do the hot and cold method, just to make sure that all bugs are gone. Yes, Beth, Jeannie is going to be on at 2:30. Is a forage session. I'm looking forward to that as well. I know. I mean, the closest person that is to me was Rita. She's about 2 hours away from me, so I have gone to her home several times. So that was pretty fun. And I met her face to face last year at CrabCon. So it's pretty cool. Thanks, Trisha. Everybody's going off to the main stage. I'm glad everyone enjoyed. Just going through the questions, make sure I answered everybody's questions. We didn't get to do the calcium cookie, but I will do a pre-video. I'll try to do a short video and post it so that you guys can have access to that as well. So you guys could do this at home as well. Love you too, Mia. You're awesome. Oh. Colleen, that is great. You got 2 crabs a college student gave you before going off to college. That is amazing. Now, I am also a moderator on Lyco, so if you ever have any questions or need help with anything, you can always find me there, and I would be happy to help you with anything you need. What size tags do I have for my jumbos? Okay, so I have 3 jumbos. One was my my first wild caught beach shop crab when I started 5 years ago crabbing, and that tank is I have only 2 of them in there and 1 small rescue in there. So they're in a 75 gallon, and I'm actually adding a topper to it now. So it's a 75 gallon. Everything for them, I have to make sure that I childproof, because they destroy everything, because they're so heavy. They're the size of a softball. A softball is bigger than a baseball, so they are pretty big. My female might be carrying eggs. I saw her fixing her herself the other day. She was moving things around, so she might have been moving her eggs. So I need to make sure that I give them, do a new pool change and make some changes in there for her. Joanne's too, yes. Oh yes, Alicia. Evie gives. She also has almond leaves in her shop. Those are pretty great. They are huge leaves, and they look so pretty. The crabs, I actually have to, in my smaller tanks, I do have to cut them up in pieces and put them into the forage dish. Hey, Hunter. 11 purple pinchers in a 235-gallon. I would love to one day maybe put all my tanks together, but then again, I question how many of them are going to go and molt in one certain section. So I think I just keep it separate. Everyone gets along and I can keep track of things. I have too many tanks. I have 8 tanks in, it used to be my dining room. So they go all across. And then I have my dining room table at the center. So they're used to seeing high traffic all the time. I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. So the crabs are very social and used to seeing people. So they're not so skittish. The only ones that are pretty skittish are maybe my newest captive bred babies, the Lilas. They are in a separate tank with 2 other ruggies, and they get along so well. But every time you come close to the tank, they're very skittish. But as time goes, I adopted them last year, so they're about 3 years old now. Yes, Beth, you're right. Petco does have cholla wood and other wood as well that's not treated. I actually buy a lot of cork pieces from Petco, but I do treat the cork just because I one time found a little bug on there. So I do freeze it and bake it as well. I don't boil my leaves just because when you boil either any sea items or even foraged items, you're actually releasing all of the nutrients in them. So all the benefits from them are being leached out into the water. So you're just removing it. So I just it depends on what the forage item is. With the leaves, I just rinse them in primed water, just cold primed water. Then I freeze. If they're regular leaves, and bake, you can do that, but not boil. With moss, if you're going to be harvesting moss and how you treat moss, even if you're buying from our approved sellers, I always like to tell people, don't rely on how they treat their items. You should always extra treat. You can't be more safe. So do your own. With the moss, I boil prime water and pour it over the moss and cover it for at least 10 minutes. And then it should be, once it's cooled off, squeeze out any excess water and it's good to go. But prior to that, you will freeze. You grew up in New Jersey. I actually I was born and raised in New York. And then when I got married, soon to be 23 years ago, I moved to New Jersey. Oh, you're from Hoboken in Union City, very close to me. I'm in Belleville, so not too far, about 15 minutes. Oh, thank you, Colleen. Let's see. I think we covered everything. So it's not a master list. If you want foraging foods book, you can purchase. That is a list of all items of food and foraged items, but we do have a database as well that you can search up all items to see if they're safe. Um, uh, be, um, what's for dinner on crabstreetjournal.org, and you would just go all the way to the bottom and enter the item or the ingredient, and the database will tell you if it's safe. If you don't find the basic the basic name of the item, you can search up on Google what is the family name and search it that way. Sometimes you'll find it better that way. Yes, I have Wise cameras in all my tanks pretty much. So it gets pretty crazy when I am trying to download the time lapse in the morning. I'm not a billionaire, I wish. These crabs are very spoiled. Do you freeze and bake, then bake? Yes, so you freeze first just because they will get pretty moist. And you want to add anything to your tank completely dry. Now, when it comes to big wood pieces, if you're going to be adding them as climbers, you don't want to bake them completely dry, because when you put them in your tank, it will zap out your humidity in the tank. So leave just a little bit of moisture after boiling your wood, and then bake it at least halfway. Let's see. I think we're all caught up. If you guys have any other questions, you can find me on Lycos. Be happy to help you with any questions there. I hope to see you guys next time.